are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for we are back here on the GSMC.
Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth, and it's great to have you guys here on this Wednesday, November 6th. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. Before I get into that, just want to remind you guys, as always, tip or donate, get your comments recognized. Make sure to hit that super chat button in the chat to help create a super chat of any thought or comment you may have throughout the live broadcast that you want to see me acknowledge. Makes the show more lively, more entertaining between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate your guys' viewership each and every day, so any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us as we put out content for you guys each and every day. And also, the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, GSMCpodcast.net. That is GSMCpodcast.net. So, let's talk about what we are going to get into today. So we're going to start off the show. We're going to recap the NFL trade deadline. We'll take a look at the trades that were made, and what trades I like, what trades I may not like. We'll get into all of them in a second. We'll also recap the Monday night game between the Buccaneers and the Chiefs. Chiefs picking up the win in overtime, improving to 8-0 on the season. The only undefeated team left. So we'll get into that. And then we'll discuss Dak Prescott likely being placed on IR with the hamstring injury, and we'll talk about the impact of that. Also, we'll get into talking about Christian McCaffrey returning to practice, possibly could be making a season debut against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday, and then we'll get into my power rankings, my top 5 teams after Week 9. So let's get into the first topic, which is talking about the trade deadline. Talk about the trades that went down. So, of course, there were trades made prior to yesterday's deadline. Of course, Davante Adams being traded to the Jets. That was a big one. Of course, you had Amari Cooper being traded to the Bills. But, there's some other trades as well that happened, and I wanted to get into them. So the first one, and I'm just going to be looking, I basically was just looking for, an article that has all of them together so I can go through them. So I'm looking at an article here on Bleacher Report. So the first trade that they have here is the Lions acquiring a defensive end, Zadarius Smith, from the Cleveland Browns. Now, the Browns, obviously, their season is not going anywhere, unfortunately. After that win against the Ravens with Jameis Winston, you thought maybe this team, could pull something off, but it just doesn't seem like that's going to happen, especially after that loss to the Chargers. Jameis throwing 3 picks. The Browns season is unfortunately not going to go the way it did last year, where they went on a run with Joe Flacco at quarterback. Now with Jameis Winston, it's just not going to happen. So the Browns sold off an edge rusher, and that's what the Lions need. They need a pass rusher. Now, Zadarius Smith, of course, is not. I mean, he was. You go back to when he was with the Packers, he was really good. Still a productive player, but this is something that the Lions needed. And they gave up a 2025 5th-round pick, a 2026 6th-round pick. The Lions actually also got, with Zadarius Smith, a 2026 7th-round pick. So that's what they got in return, trading those draft picks away. And look, again, it's a need. So, and the Lions, they have been doing fine. They just continue to win games. But you needed to add a pass rusher. And now Zadarius Smith comes back into a division that he knows very well. I mean, he was with the Packers, he was with the Vikings, and now he's with the Lions. So if he goes to the Bears, then he played for every team. But he's with the Lions. I do like this move for them. They get a pass rusher. And we have Ice Cold G in the chat. He said, I don't know why the Packers traded Preston Smith for a 7th-round pick. Yeah, that was an interesting move too. So the Steelers, they made a couple of moves. If I can find the Preston Smith. Yeah, so they traded Preston Smith to the Steelers. The Packers traded him to the Steelers for a 7th-round pick, a 2025 7th-round pick. Now, yeah, I don't really know why. That was an interesting trade because you look at the Steelers and, they're fine at edge rusher with T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith. You add him you add him for depth. So, yeah, I thought that was an interesting trade. But I guess the Packers, from their perspective, they want to see their young guys, take on bigger roles. I mean, that's definitely one way to look at it, I would say. But yeah, that was an interesting trade. I actually do like it for the Steelers just for depth. So that was an interesting trade. But that's what they decided to do. So the two Smith brothers got traded yesterday because obviously, like I said, Zadarius Smith used to play for the Packers. We also had the Ravens acquiring Tre'Davious White, corner from the Rams. Of course, he was a former Buffalo Bill as well. The Rams, they brought him in, but I guess, they were fine with giving him up. He's not the same player that he once was. But the Ravens, when you look at this team, I mean, the offense is explosive, and they got very good players on defense as well, but the back end is something that has struggled. And I'm not saying that Tre'Davious White's going to step in and he's going to be the same player he was with the Bills, but they needed help in the secondary, and this at least does that. And they give up a 6th-round pick for him. They got a 7th-round pick in return, a 2027 second or 7th. So, it does something for their secondary. So that's another trade. This one I really liked, and that was the Commanders acquiring Marshawn Lattimore from the Saints. They got Lattimore and a 2025 5th-round pick in exchange for a 2025 3rd, 4th, and 6th round. And this is another team that secondary is something that they had to, an area where they needed to improve. And I think by getting Marshawn Lattimore, that shows that you're going for it. And I think this was a good move for them. And this was a team that I was not high on going into the season. I thought maybe it would take another year for them to grow, but they are way ahead of schedule. And they look like they are well on their way to winning an NFC East title. Now, you got the Eagles right behind you, so you got to worry about that. But this team is in prime position to win the division, and they'll be in the playoffs. I give them a lot of credit. I was wrong. They signed a lot of veteran guys. I wasn't a big fan of the Dan Quinn hire, but you know what? He did well when he first got to Atlanta. It's just I was always thinking of how the end of Atlanta ended, and of course how the Cowboys defense played in the final game that he coached the Cowboys defense against the Packers. But you bring in Marshawn Lattimore, who's a good corner. That helps improve your team. Because the secondary for the Commanders, that was one of the reasons why I just didn't think the Commanders were going to be that good, is because, maybe their offense would put up points, but the other team was going to put up a lot of points too because of, the secondary not being very good. But now you bring in Lattimore, that improves the secondary. I do like that trade. Also, Ice Cold in the chat did say Steelers for sure won that trade, the Preston Smith trade. Yeah, I agree. Listen, it adds depth. Highsmith has had his injuries, and unfortunately, T.J. Watt's had his injuries too. So Preston Smith is there for depth. So you got to like that. The other trade that the Steelers made, which I do like, there might be some mixed feelings on it, but they acquired Mike Williams from the Jets in exchange for a 2025 5th-round pick. And, Mike Williams, it just didn't seem like it was going to work out with the Jets, especially after the Monday night game against the Bills where there was miscommunication between him and Aaron Rodgers. And, of course, they get Devontae Adams. And it's just Mike Williams was the odd man out. Now, I know people are saying it's interesting because Allen Lazard is hurt. So it's like, why would you trade Mike Williams then? But you got Xavier Gibson there, Malachi Corley. These guys are going to be more involved in the offense. Now, Corley should have had a touchdown, but, of course, he dropped the ball before he crossed the goal line. So hopefully he doesn't do that again. But you got Devontae Adams, you got Garrett Wilson. Allen Lazard is eventually going to come back, and like I said, you got the two young guys. So, yeah, there was really no spot for Mike Williams. And the Steelers, this is a position of need. They needed another receiver, and Mike Williams is a deep ball guy, and Russell Wilson's been throwing those moon balls since he's been the starting quarterback for the Steelers these first two games. So, and Mike Williams is a deep ball guy. He's a 50-50 ball guy. So, Russell Wilson's going to be throwing those passes to him. And, the Steelers right now, they're in a good position. This team right now looks like they're going to be a playoff team. Now, they're getting to the tough part of their schedule. So, Mike Williams is going to, going to have to step up as well. Everybody's going to have to step up their game because you got the Commanders, you got the Eagles, you got everybody in your division coming up. You got the Chiefs. This is the tough part of the schedule. And we're going to really get to see what the Steelers are made of with this schedule. But I do like this move because, again, they needed another receiver. We talked about the Preston Smith deal. Also, the Cowboys, they acquired a receiver. It was Jonathan Mingo from the Carolina Panthers. They acquired him in a 2025 7th-round pick in exchange for a 2025 4th-round pick. Not really a big needle mover, and Jerry Jones did say they were going to be busy at the deadline, and this is really the only trade they came up with. He's a young guy. I believe this is his second year. So, we'll see what he brings to the table for the Cowboys, but again, it's not a needle mover. It's not. The Cowboys are still flawed, and we'll get into them a little bit later in the show, but even with this trade, I mean, it doesn't seem like they're going to be going anywhere this year. Yeah, so he's in his second season. Last year, he had 418 receiving yards, no touchdowns. But now, at least add another weapon. I guess just put it like that. But yeah, I'm not really kind of indifferent on the trade. I don't think. I mean, they addressed a position of need because outside of CeeDee Lamb, and Brandon Cooks is hurt. The receiver position is kind of thin for them. But again, maybe they unlock something with him. But then again, Dak Prescott is going to be out. But yeah, that's what they did. Also, the Bengals, they made a trade. They traded for Khalil Herbert in exchange for a 2025 7th-round pick, one of the running backs for the Bears. He was kind of the odd man out there in that backfield. DeAndre Swift really started to run the football effectively. I mean, they paid him a big contract to come in and run the football well, and he has done that in recent weeks. And then you also have Roschon Johnson, who they like. So, yeah, Khalil Herbert was the odd man out. Zach Moss is injured. The Bengals needed another running back to complement Chase Brown, who's been doing a nice job this year. So, yeah, I don't mind this trade. Herbert's still young. So, maybe this could be a good fit. And the Bengals, the passing game is one of the best in the league. But, the running game, they'd like to improve in that area. The Cardinals, they acquired an edge rusher from the Broncos, Baron Browning, for a 2025 6th-round pick. Look, the Cardinals, right now they're in first place in the NFC West. So, this helps them on the defensive side of the ball. They're going for it. And then also you got the 49ers acquiring a defensive tackle from the Texans, Khalil Davis. They're struggling in the run game, stopping the run this year. With Javon Hargrave out for the season, they needed help there, so they get a defensive tackle there. And then also, there was a bunch of other trades as well. I mean, we talked about the Deontay Johnson trade. Cam Robinson with Darisaw, their left tackle, being out for the season. They acquired Cam Robinson, the Vikings did. So they needed to do that. That was good for them. Obviously, we talked about DeAndre Hopkins being traded to the Chiefs. We'll get into, talking about his game from Monday in the next segment. The Chiefs also acquired Joshua Uche from the Patriots, an edge rusher. You had Ernest Jones being traded from the Titans to the Seahawks. Linebacker Jerome Baker was traded from the Seahawks to the Titans. We talked about Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper. Cam Akers also got traded from the Texans back to the Vikings. I think we did discuss that as well. But, yeah, that's pretty much all the trades from the trade deadline. And before that, let me know what you guys think, though. Who won the trade deadline? What trades did you like? What trades did you not like? Let me know in the comments. So we're going to take our first break of the show. When we come back, we will discuss the Chiefs-Buccaneers game from Monday. So make sure to stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we're going to now get into recapping the final game from Week 9 between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I got some fantasy things to discuss as well because I lost a couple of heartbreakers on Monday with this game. But we'll get into that last. Let's talk about the game itself. So, obviously, the Buccaneers, I mean, we keep talking about it. They are shorthanded. Their top two receivers are out. Mike Evans, we'll see, when he does come back. It seems like he's going to come back after the bye. But Chris Godwin's out for the year. And I want to just say that Baker Mayfield, with everything that's been going on, and I know now he didn't turn the ball over in this game. Interceptions have been a problem, but he has played as good as he can without his top two wideouts. The Buccaneers definitely had a chance to win their last two games, but they just haven't. And the Bucs, unfortunately, are 4-5, and it looks like they might not make the playoffs. And it's unfortunate because Baker got off to such a good start. That team got off to such a good start, and it looked like they were on their way to, maybe winning the NFC South again. And it's just injuries kind of derailed their season, and between that and the defense just not playing well, it just, But they have their quarterback. They do have their quarterback with Baker Mayfield. I'm confident in saying that. But yeah, this game it was a tough loss for them. The Chiefs, again, offensively, now they definitely looked better, but it's just we're still waiting, for them to turn it up. And they did a little bit here, but I thought this was going to be the game where they dominated from start to finish, the Chiefs, if I'm going to be completely honest. Now, I almost had the final score right. I was close. But the Buccaneers, for the most part, they had a lead. They had the lead for a large portion of the game. But ultimately, it was the Chiefs that got the win. So both teams punted to start off the game. Then on this Chiefs' second drive, they got into field goal range. Harrison Butker kicked a 40-yard field goal to make it 3-0. The Buccaneers did respond, putting together about a 7-minute drive, 11 plays, 70 yards. And Rashad White from 7 yards out scored a touchdown, so that made it 7-3. Chiefs then answered. They went 11 plays, 70 yards. That was set up by a 35-yard reception by DeAndre Hopkins, who had a big game. They said he was going to be more involved in this game, and he was. And that led to a DeAndre Hopkins touchdown on 3rd and goal from the 1. So that made it 10-7. The Bucs punted. Then the Chiefs fumbled. Travis Kelce fumbled, but the Bucs did not turn that into anything. So it was 10-7 at the half. But then the Bucs came out in the second half. They went 6 plays, 51 yards down the field, and Baker Mayfield connected with Kate Otten for an 11-yard touchdown. So that made it 14-10. Chiefs punted. Bucs put together another drive. They went 8 plays, 30 yards. Chase McLaughlin from 47 yards out kicked the field goal to make it 17-10. The Chiefs then responded, going 12 plays, 70 yards, 6.5 minutes of time of possession. And Mahomes connected with Samaje Perine for a 7-yard touchdown on 3rd and goal. Now, Mahomes got injured on that play, and he needed help off the field. It was his ankle. And, you see Carson Wentz warming up. And, when I saw that, I was like, oh, no, this is not good. And it was another like non-contact injury. So I thought it was something much worse. And it ended up not being that, because of course he ended up coming back into the game and finishing it. But look, I know people are annoyed with the Chiefs that they're just not going away, and I know maybe people are just getting annoyed with Patrick Mahomes, but the guy is one of the marquee players in this league, and I don't care if you like him or not, he makes the game better. And if it ended up being worse and he just was out for the year for some reason, that would hurt the game. That would hurt the NFL. It would. It would hurt the watching experience. So I'm happy that he was able to come back and finish up this game. I don't wish injuries upon anybody. So, but yeah, he ended up coming back out and finishing the game. We go to the fourth quarter. The Bucs ended up punting. Chiefs went up by 7. This was the second DeAndre Hopkins touchdown from 5 yards out. So that made it 24-17. Both teams punted. And then the Bucs, they went down the field, 10 plays, 71 yards, under 2 minutes. And Baker Mayfield connected with Ryan Miller for a 1-yard touchdown. So that tied the game. And we ended up going to overtime. And unfortunately for the Bucs, and they're not the first team to have dealt with this, but the Chiefs won the coin toss, and they went 10 plays, 70 yards, a little under 6 minutes of time of possession. And Kareem Hunt scored from 2 yards out. And Chiefs win 30-24. For the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, he was good. 34 of 44, 291 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, was sacked 4 times. Kareem Hunt, 27 carries, 106 yards, 1 touchdown. Travis Kelce was targeted 16 times. He had 14 receptions for 100 yards. DeAndre Hopkins, 8 for 86 and 2 touchdowns. Like I said, got more involved. And, he looked good. Justin Watson had 3 for 43. Samaje Perine, 4 for 25 and a touchdown. Kelce had a lost fumble. Chiefs defense, only 2 sacks. I was surprised by that. I thought they were going to put more pressure on Baker. I thought they were going to force some turnovers. They didn't. Now, there was one that I think it was Justin Reed. He should have had an interception, but he ended up dropping it, which would have made a difference in my fantasy matchup. But anyway, so for Baker Mayfield, he went 23 of 31, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. The Bucs only ran the ball for 95 yards. Cade Otton, he's been the go-to guy, and he was the reason I lost another one of my matchups. He had 8 receptions for 77 yards and a touchdown. Like I said, the Bucs defense had 4 sacks. But yeah, for the Bucs, they dropped to 4-5, and it's been a rough go for them. And now they take on the Niners, and Christian McCaffrey might be coming back. It's not looking good right now for them. And for the Chiefs, again, maybe they didn't play their best game. Defensively, it wasn't great. They couldn't get to Baker Mayfield. They didn't force any turnovers, but they got the job done. The offense started to look a little bit better. I mean, you saw Hopkins, the 2 touchdowns. Kelce has been doing better these past couple weeks. Kareem Hunt is doing a nice job filling in for Isaiah Pacheco. So the offense may be starting to turn the corner. It's not there yet, I feel like, but it's getting there. But they got some, they got some better teams coming up. The Broncos game could be interesting. Divisional game, good defense coming in. I know they just got smacked around by the Ravens, but again, divisional game. The game that I'm really looking forward to is when they play the Bills the following week. That is a huge game. That could be the game that the Chiefs do lose, but we'll see. We have no idea. But I did want to get into briefly the my fantasy implications. So I had a couple of matchups that I was up in. Now, it wasn't a guarantee that I was going to win, and I didn't win either of them. But let's get to one of them first. So I was up by, I think, 18 going into the game, and I had nobody else left, and they had Cade Otton and Harrison Butker. And Cade Otton ended up finishing with 21.7 points. Harrison Butker finished with 7.4, and I ended up losing 107.8 to 96. And now I'm 3-6 in that league. And this team, I feel like I should have won, but my team really underperformed. Isaiah Likely, no catches. Kyron Williams had 9.5. Jordan Love had 8.92. Yeah, my team should have did better. It should have been a better showing, but it wasn't, of course. So I ended up losing that. But the big one was in my family league. I was playing against my sister, and I had the Chiefs defense and Kareem Hunt left, and she had Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Now, I was up, I think, 118 to 93 going into the game, and then, with the defense, you get an auto 10, so 128 to 93. So I ended up losing 139.54 to 139.24. I lost by 0.3. 0.3 to go to 3-6. I've lost 4 games in a row in this league. Even with the Kareem Hunt game-winning touchdown, I still ended up losing. Because right before that, because it's full PPR, right before that, Travis Kelce caught a pass. So if he doesn't catch that, if Mahomes throws it to Noah Gray or somebody else, and then Kareem Hunt scores, then I win. But I lost by the slimmest of margins. And, I have Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara, Justin Jefferson. They all produce. Kareem Hunt did well, Evan McPherson. But the Chiefs' defense was a disappointment. No turnovers. Isaiah Likely, no catches in his game. And then I had Kyler Murray, who only got me 4.76 points. So if I got a little bit more of a contribution from some of these guys and my defense, which I thought the Chiefs' defense would do well because the Bucs were missing a bunch of guys, I thought I had a chance, but it's not the case. Not the case. So I dropped to 3-6. So really, for a lot of my leagues, I'm fighting for my life. I'm fighting for my playoff life. And it's just, I don't, I'm looking at the projections right now, and I'm looking good, but projections really don't mean anything. They don't. I was projected over 120 against the other with the other matchup, and I didn't even get past 100. So maybe I'll go on a run. Maybe my team will go on a run. But yeah, I wanted to bring that up. So I lost by 0.3 to my sister. It was terrible. But yeah, with this game though, it's just, like I said, for the Bucs, you feel bad. Now I know Todd Bowles, he got blasted, I guess, for not going for 2 at the end. I mean, I get it. I'll be honest, I was surprised that he didn't go for 2 because I feel like he would have. Because I know he did that in the playoff game against the Lions, even when they were losing. But once, the coin toss happened for overtime, and you just see Baker Mayfield's reaction when Mahomes and the Chiefs get the ball, he just knew the game was over. And that's what they did. They went right down the field and scored a touchdown. So, I feel for Baker and the Bucs, and again, they take on the Niners. The schedule does get easier, so maybe they could turn it around. But you got the Falcons who keep winning, and you're 0-2 against them this year. It's and you look at the wild card race. There's really no clear pathway right now for them to make the playoffs. But we'll see what happens. But for the Chiefs, they continue to win. So. But let me know what you guys think about this game. What were your takeaways from it? Let me know in the comments. So before we go to break, I just want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate, get your comments recognized. Make sure to hit that super chat button in the chat to help create a super chat of any thought or comment you may want to see me acknowledge throughout the live broadcast. Makes the show more lively, more entertaining between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate your guys' viewership each and every day, so any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us as we put out content for you guys each and every day. And also, the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, GSMCpodcast.net. That is GSMCpodcast.net. So, when we come back from our next break, we will discuss Dak Prescott likely being placed on IR. We'll talk about the impact of that and how that impacts the Cowboys season from here on out. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're going to now get into talking about Dak Prescott. Talk about his injury and what that means for the Cowboys going forward. So he suffered a hamstring injury in the second half, I believe, of the Falcons-Cowboys game. And yeah, it doesn't appear like, it's going to be, one game absence. It's going to be a multi-game thing, and could lead to him being placed on injured reserve. And that would mean that, I almost said Cooper Kupp. Cooper Rush would be the quarterback going forward. Well, I mean, he's going to be the quarterback going forward regardless, but, depending on how many games Dak misses. But I don't think the Cowboys have made it official just yet. I'm double-checking right now as we move along here. But, yeah, I mean, it just keeps saying he's likely to go on injured reserve. So, if that's the case, he's going to be out, till week 14, week 15, it looks like. And in between that, they play the Eagles on Sunday, the Cowboys do. They take on the Texans. Then they're at the Commanders, and they're home against the Giants. And then if Dak doesn't play in week 14, they're home against the Bengals. So, see a lot of losses in there. And look, it's kind of been a disappointing season for the Cowboys. It has been. Now, I thought that they were going to continue to be a good regular season team, but that just has not happened. Dak, looking at his stats this year, 1,978 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, 8 picks. Not as good of a year as last year. But there's a lot more issues with this team besides the quarterback. The defense, they can't run the football. I mean, how many times am I going to keep saying it? Coaching. So, I mean, you got to wonder if the Cowboys season continues to spiral out of control and you're looking at, what are they, 3-5 right now? You're looking at like 4-8, 4-9, whatever. Do you even bring Dak? I mean, I guess you got to play him. But why even have him play when you're just completely out of it? But he's going to want to play if he's healthy. But another thing I did want to bring up, though, and I didn't realize this until we talked about it in the production meeting, but they panned to him while he was on the sidelines, and he was talking to, I don't know if it was Cooper Rush or it was just somebody else, but he said, we bleep and stink, is what he said. And people are like, whether it's a big deal or not, it's not a big deal. He got caught in the moment, but is he wrong? Look at how this team is playing right now. He's not wrong. Now, you wish that didn't get caught on camera if you're him, but it did. This team does good in the regular season. It's not doing that right now. They have a ton of problems. And it's not going to get any easier with, this better competition coming up. Now, with Dak Prescott being out, they are getting Micah Parsons back, so I guess that does help on the defensive side of the ball. But even with Micah Parsons, even with DeMarcus Lawrence, this defense was not playing well. So, it's just, they're in a tough spot right now. And, I already talked about earlier this week of the cap hit that both CeeDee Lamb and Dak are going to have on this team going forward. They are just not in a good spot. I don't know what's going to happen. But I think even with Dak being out for multiple weeks, this season's pretty much over. I don't see how they turn it around, especially with the teams that they have coming up on the schedule. Like I said, Philadelphia, Houston, Washington. Those teams are better. Now, Houston has not been playing good in recent weeks, but they're going to be getting Nico Collins back. So that's going to make them look different. They're going to be a different team. And they can run the football. Cowboys can't stop the run. So if passing game's struggling, they'll rely on Joe Mixon. But CJ Stroud has to play better. But yeah, that could be a loss. Washington looks like a much better team than Dallas right now. And you got a former coach coming back to coach against his former team. I think Washington's winning. And then you got Philadelphia. Philly should win on Sunday, especially with no Dak. And Dak usually plays well against Philly. Now you got Cooper Rush. Now, Cooper Rush did a nice job filling in for him a couple of years ago. He has done a nice job when his name has been called upon. But I feel like this is different. This Cowboys team, the Cowboys were in a better position when, actually a couple of years ago, Dak missed between week 2 and week 6 or whatever it was. But that Cowboys team is better than the one we're seeing right now. Now Cooper Rush is stepping in. They're 3-5. Got better competition coming up. The defense is not as good. Can't really run the football. At least a couple of years ago, the defense was solid. And the running game was good with Tony Pollard. But it's just not that's not what this team is right now. So I mean Cooper Rush, can he do okay? Yeah, I think he will be okay, but okay is not going to be enough. Okay is definitely not going to be enough. So this season, now especially with this Dak injury, it's unfortunately a lost cause for them. And there's going to be changes. There has to be. When it comes to the head coach, and you got to wonder, was paying Dak the right decision? I mean, I think, you don't want to see Dak leave. Because, you would have thought with the talent that they had that this team was still going to be a playoff team, and who knows what they could do. A lot of us already know because it happens every year. They make the playoffs and they get knocked out early, but Dak had a good year last year. And this offense usually is better, and this team in general is usually better, but it's just not this year. So, there's a lot of questions with this team going forward. And, next year, it'll be interesting to see what they do. But right now, we still got a lot of weeks left. Maybe Cooper Rush comes in and he just plays like an MVP. It's not going to happen. But yeah, this season for me, the Cowboys season's over. It's over. I did have 2 NFC East teams making the playoffs. One of them looks like it'll be correct. The other's a surprise, and that's the Commanders. Cowboys are done. Simple as that. So, but, we'll see how long Dak is out. Still waiting on if he's going to officially be placed on IR, but I guess that's where it's going to be heading. And then, we go from there. Like I said, the Cowboys are at a tough part of their schedule. So, You got, like I said, Philly, Houston, Washington. You got the Bengals at some point as well with their passing attack. Not looking good. Not looking good for the Cowboys. But yeah, for me, I'm out. Their season's over. Their season is over. I don't know how they're going to be able to correct it. But let me know what you guys think about the Dak injury. Do you think the Cowboys season is over? Let me know. But yeah, it's just they still have they haven't played Washington yet. They haven't played Philly yet. I mean, they play the Giants on Thanksgiving, so that could be a win. You got Tampa on the schedule. I mean, you got the Giants and the Panthers on the schedule. So to me, that's 2 more wins there. So that gets you to 5. But, Philly twice, Tampa, Washington twice, Houston. There's a lot of losses in there. I mean, if this team goes 5-12, that would be disastrous for them. We'll see. But, yeah, it's definitely possible. Because the teams that are on the schedule are better than them. I don't know. I don't know. They're going to finish with a losing record. They definitely are. But if 5-12 might be a little harsh. Because maybe they could pull off an upset here and there. But maybe you get to 7 wins. They're definitely finished with a losing record. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, Dak Prescott, the Cowboys are going to be without their starting quarterback for an extended period of time. So Cooper Rush is going to step in. Like I said, he did do a nice job when he has filled in for Dak in the past. We'll see if that can happen again. So we are going to take our next break. And then when we come back, we will discuss a player that will be hopefully returning from injury this week, and that is Christian McCaffrey. It's possible that he could be making his season debut against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the 49ers in general when we come back. Would love to see him back on the field because he is one of the best players when he's out there. So we'll get into that discussion when we return from our next break. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast, and for the 4th part of the show, we're going to now get into talking about Christian McCaffrey of the San Francisco 49ers and the possibility of him making his season debut on Sunday against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So obviously, he's been out with the Achilles injury, and the 49ers have opened up that window for him to be activated. And he's going to be activated at some point. And it could be this week. The 49ers are coming out of the bye. They're looking to make a second-half run here. Right now, if the playoffs were to begin today, they would be on the outside looking in. But getting McCaffrey back would be such a huge boost for this team offensively. And, we'll see if it ends up happening. Now, the 49ers, they got to get healthy. There are guys on defense that are banged up, guys on offense are banged up. But it seems like, at least offensively, they're going to be getting most of their guys back. Like, obviously, Brandon Ayuk is out for the season. They're not going to be getting him back. But Juwan Jennings, I think he's practicing. They're going to get him back. Deebo Samuel, of course, has been banged up. But, he's he should be good to go. Got banged up once again in the Cowboys game, but he'll be good to go. George Kittle, you get McCaffrey back, it's huge. And Jordan Mason has done a nice job filling in for him, but Christian McCaffrey just adds so much to this team. He could do everything. Running the football and catching passes out of the backfield. And he just makes this offense more dynamic and just harder to deal with. So when you got him back on the field, defenses are just going to be like, well, we got to, if we, focus on him, then, Debo's going to beat us or Kittle's going to beat us, and Jawan Jennings, look at the season he's had when he's been kind of the main guy. I mean, we saw what he did when basically all the weapons were out. Jawan Jennings had that big game against the Rams. And now you got Ricky Pearsall in the fold. So there's a lot of weapons that teams are going to have to account for, especially getting McCaffrey back. But, you have McCaffrey back. You get him back. You still got Jordan Mason. And then you have, Guerrero, the other running back. The 49ers can beat you many different ways with this offense. And, of course, Brock Purdy, I mean, he's been good this year. With what he's had to deal with, he's been good this year. And, as long as you give him protection and you got the weapons around him, he's going to be fine. My bigger concern for them, and I've said this constantly, is the defense. The defense for me is the bigger concern of the Niners. They got to get that right. Because, if the defense doesn't tighten up, they don't get healthy, the 49ers are not going to really be able to do anything this year. And they're going to need them to step up because the Niners have tough games coming up on the schedule. So we'll kind of run through that. So they got Tampa this week. And look, Baker Mayfield's played well. So, it's not going to be an easy game, not going to be a cakewalk. Even without his top weapons, Baker Mayfield has still played well. I talked about that earlier in the show. But then you're home against the Seahawks, you're at the Packers, you're at the Bills, you got the Bears at home who have a good defense, you got the Rams who look like one of the hottest teams in the NFL right now, getting their guys back. Then you're at the Dolphins, home against the Lions, and then at the Cardinals. Those are not easy games. Pretty much all of them are not easy games. They go either way, for the most part. So it's really going to determine where the Niners are going to finish. Right now, they're third in the NFC West. They're between them and the Rams, they're both 4-4. They're a half game behind the Cardinals. For me, I think the Seahawks are going to be the team that, unfortunately for them, finishes in last at this current moment. But, the Cardinals have already beaten up on the Rams and the Niners this year. So, and the 49ers will get another crack at them later in the year. And who knows, that could come down to the division. That could be the Sunday night game that gets flexed. And, we could see an NFC West championship on Sunday Night Football. They got the Rams coming up at home. Rams already beat them. Now they got their top two weapons back. So, yeah, this is the beginning of the stretch run for the Niners. Are they going to be up for the challenge? And I think they will be. It's really hard for me to see this team not make the playoffs. They have so much talent. They just have been kind of going through it. And like I said, I do think, you get McCaffrey back. You got Jawan Jennings coming back. Hopefully the defense gets healthier. This is going to be a different team. And they are going to be, like I said, I think they're going to be up for the challenge. But, look, like I said, they have still been able to run the football. The Niners. They have still done it. Jordan Mason has done a nice job. Guerrero has had some big runs for them later in the season because Mason's gotten banged up. But like I said, McCaffrey just adds so much more to this team. When they traded for him a couple of years ago, they're going for it. Really going for it. Making that move. Because he's one of the best running backs in the NFL. And they added him to their team, and it just made them that much better. I know they made it to the Super Bowl and the NFC and a couple of NFC championship games without him. But he makes their offense that much better. Because 2019, you had Tevin Coleman and Raheem Mostert, but they're not Christian McCaffrey. I know Raheem Mostert had over 200 yards rushing in the NFC Championship game against the Packers, but again, McCaffrey's the better player. And then 2021, you had Elijah Mitchell who did a nice job. But McCaffrey just makes him a better team. And that's why they went out and got him. And that's why, that's why he's here. And, we'll see how he looks when he comes back. He's not going to get a full workload. He's not going to, they're going to ease him back into it, which is the right approach. That's kind of like what the Browns are doing with Nick Chubb. Now, Christian McCaffrey's in a better situation than Nick Chubb is right now. But, they're going to ease McCaffrey back into it. They want to make sure that, if they make it to the playoffs, they want to make sure he's fresh. He's good to go. They don't want to run him into the ground, nor should they. So, the 49ers are heading in the right direction, I think. It's just, the games they got coming up are tough. So they got to be up for the challenge, and I think they will be. This is a well-coached team, a lot of veterans. These guys know what's at stake right now. So they got to go out there and play their game. That's really, it's easier said than done. And, getting McCaffrey back, that's definitely going to provide a spark to this team. It's going to light a fire under them. And not to say, look, they're 4-4 right now. It's not like they got a losing record. They've been sluggish. They've played well this year. It's just one of the issues with them is they haven't been able to finish some games. Like the Cardinals game, they didn't finish that. The Rams game, they didn't finish that. That's 2 wins right there that you should have had that you didn't. And against divisional opponents. You don't want to do that against divisional opponents. But that's what they did. And they'd be in a much better position. They'd be in first place right now. And not the Cardinals. You'd be 6-2 right now. But you are what your record says you are. So getting those guys back is huge. And, excited to see, if we get McCaffrey back on the field. I don't think anything is made. It's only Wednesday. Nothing's been made official yet. But it seems like that's what they're aiming for, is McCaffrey being back for this game against the Buccaneers coming up. Let's see. I'll take a quick look and see if any updates. And, the practice window's open. That's really it. So, and last year, let's kind of just go through McCaffrey's stats from last year. 272 carries, 1,459 rushing yards, average 5.36 yards per carry, 14 rushing touchdowns, also had 564 receiving yards and 7 receiving touchdowns. So he had 21 touchdowns in total. That's what the 49ers are getting back. Well, obviously he's not going to reach that 21 total touchdowns this year with all the time he's missed, but he's a touchdown machine. Look at Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry has scored a touchdown in every single game this year. McCaffrey's pretty much that when he's playing. He's an automatic touchdown. And it would not surprise me if he plays, he scores another one. So, it'll be good to get him back because he is one of the most exciting players to watch each week and, makes his team a lot better. So, but let me know what you guys think, though, about McCaffrey's return. What are your expectations for him? Do the Niners go on a run here? I think they do. They're gonna continue to get guys back. And look, this division is so close right now in the NFC West. I still believe it is going to be them that are going to come out on top and win this division. They might not get the top seed, but they're going to be a divisional winner. I still see that. Because right now, the Lions have 1 loss, the Commanders have 2 losses. The Falcons, I think they only have, the Falcons have 3 losses. Right now, the NFC West, the Cardinals are the 4th seed if the playoffs were to start today. Yeah, Cardinals are the 4th seed at the moment. But the Lions at 7-1, Commanders at 7-2, Falcons at 6-3, Cardinals at 5-4. So, and if the 49ers are 2 games out of a wild card spot, the better pathway is through the division. So, because again, you got the Vikings and the Packers both in it, 6-2, 6-3. Eagles are 6-2. So it's going to be interesting how this playoff race shapes out. It's going to be it's going to be a dogfight to the end. And I'm pretty sure I said the same thing last year with the wild card races. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys think about McCaffrey's return and the 49ers. And do you think they can go on a run or not? Let me know in the comments. So we're going to take our final break of the show. And then when we come back, we will do my power rankings. I'll list my top 5 teams after week 9. And that'll take us right to the end of the show for today. So for one final time today, stick around. And we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we are going to get into my power rankings, ranking the top 5 teams in the NFL after Week 9. So let's get into it. And look, the number 5 and the number 4 spots, I think are going to pretty much be a revolving door for the rest of the year. It's pretty tough to rank these teams, but I think the top 3, I think they'll stay the same, but it'll definitely change. So at 5, it's close. There are definitely a couple of teams that you could probably put at 5. I don't know if I feel great about it, but I got the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen is playing really good football. He's played good football all year. Hasn't really put the ball in harm's way. I would like to see the Bills go up against a team like the Chiefs and win because, we saw them go up against the Ravens and the Texans, and, especially against the Ravens, they got outclassed. I would like to see the Bills beat better competition, and I feel like a lot of their wins have come against teams that aren't very good. That's my one knock on them. But Josh Allen, like I said, is playing really well this year. This might be his best year yet. He's one of the lead candidates for MVP. I mean, look at this. 2,000 yards passing, 17 touchdowns and 2 picks. And it took a while for him to throw his first interception. The first interception he threw was last week against the Seahawks. And it was almost November. So, he's doing a great job at limiting the turnovers. But I still like I said, I want to see them go up against a team that is better than them and beat them. And it's coming up because you got the Colts, but then after that you got the Chiefs, the bye, 49ers, Rams, Lions. Show me what you're made of in those games. Show me that you could go on the road and beat one of these teams. Show me that you could beat the Niners at home, which they have done very well at home. The 2 games that they've lost are on the road. That's the other thing you could say too. Being on the road, it has not been kind to them against some of these better opponents. But you got the Chiefs at home, you got the Niners at home. Beat them, because that'll really show me something. even though the Chiefs beat them on the road in the playoffs last year. Chiefs came into their house and beat them. But that's last year. This is this year. Bills right now, they're at 5. Like I said, you could put other teams there. Like, at some point, the Commanders are going to have to crack the top 5. I don't have them in my top 5 right now. But they're definitely, if they're not 5, they're definitely 6 or 7. So at 4, I got the Minnesota Vikings. They bounced back. They got a win against the Colts. Sam Darnold, 3 touchdowns in the game. They got T.J. Hawkinson back, so that was good to see. But they got the win. And it wasn't pretty. It was not pretty. The defense did play well. They did shut down Joe Flacco in that Colts offense. They really couldn't get anything going. They're 6-2 on the year. And yeah, Darnold had 3 touchdowns. Did have a couple of picks, though. I do worry about the turnovers with Sam Darnold. I feel like that's been happening a lot more these past couple of weeks. So, teams are starting to kind of figure him out. But you know what? He's responded, though. He has responded. And, this team is just loaded on both sides of the ball. It's a well-coached team. And, right now they're in the driver's seat to make the playoffs. Not saying to win the division or anything, but they definitely look like they're on their way to making the playoffs. And, they got one of the best receivers in the NFL in Justin Jefferson. You saw that nice touchdown catch by Jordan Addison. Like I said, T.J. Hawkinson's back. You got Aaron Jones running the football well this year. It was kind of quiet in the game against the Colts. But their offense is just explosive with the guys that they have. And I said, they're a little bit banged up on defense right now, but, they'll get those guys back, I think. And, they're a dangerous team. So they're at 4. At 3, I got the Baltimore Ravens. 2 and 3, it's like so hard to decide. But this is one of the best teams. Offensively, Lamar Jackson, who's, I think, the lead candidate for MVP right now. I know I said Josh Allen is one of the lead candidates. Lamar Jackson is the lead candidate. You might have the MVP and the Offensive Player of the Year in Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry has scored a touchdown in every single game this year. He has over 1,000 yards already. I think he scored his 100th career rushing touchdown. I mean, what he's been able to do, this was a match made in heaven, him and the Ravens. And this is what we kind of expected going into the season. Was Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. How was this backfield going to be together? I think pretty much everybody thought it was going to be great, and it's great. They are one of the best teams. They could very easily have one loss. I keep saying that. I don't know. I still can't wrap my head around the fact that they lost to the Raiders. Like, they lost to the Raiders and the Browns. Now, Browns was a trap game, divisional opponent. Jameis, against that pass defense, they exploited that. The Chiefs, they could have won that game, but this is one of the best teams. They went out and they got Tre'Davious White. I brought that up to hopefully help the secondary out, but this team's awesome. And Zay Flowers is having a big year too. They added Deontay Johnson. They have improved this team. And let's see how this team is when they play against the Chiefs again. I really want to see what happens there. It could be the same result, but we could see those two teams play each other once again. We said last year this could be the Ravens' year. It wasn't. Could it be this year? Because, Derrick Henry is a difference maker. They went out, they added another pass catcher. They added a corner. Let's see. But yeah, I got them at 3. But you could put them at 2. You could definitely put them at 2. But I got the Lions at 2. The Lions, they addressed the need. They went out and they got a pass rusher in Zadarius Smith. Obviously with the injury to Aiden Hutchinson. But team finds ways to win. Jared Goff is playing really well this year. It seems like he doesn't throw incompletions. He's always starting off the game with, going 11 of 11, it seems. They got 2 monsters coming out of the backfield. One of the best receivers in the league in Amon-Ra St. Brown. They went into Lambeau, their first outdoor game of the season. And it was bad weather. And it didn't matter. They got the win. And that's a team that is playing with a lot of confidence right now. A lot of confidence. Right now, they're the best team in the NFC. I mean, can't really make an argument. I mean, you could say there's other teams that can maybe knock them off, but this is the team to beat right now in this conference. They are playing very good football. And like I said, they're playing with a lot of confidence. You got the head coach after the game saying we could beat anybody anywhere, essentially. They feel it. They feel that this could be the year. And this city, this fan base, it deserves it if the Lions are able to do it. Because it's been a long time. And they're finding a lot of success right now. So, I'm excited to see what this team could do. I mean, look, I have them and the team we're going to talk about next in the Super Bowl. And I hope that ends up being the Super Bowl. Because then, from all the bad takes that I've had, at least I'd have my Super Bowl prediction right. At least the team's getting to that. Getting to the Super Bowl. Being correct there. But it does fascinate me, though, that it took this long for them to actually have an outdoor game. And, Jared Goff has gotten knocked for, not playing well in bad weather. But he did what he was supposed to do. Lions got the win against the Packers, a divisional opponent. And, they only got one loss. So, but yeah, I got them at 2. And then at 1, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. Still undefeated. Offense looked better. 3 touchdowns by Mahomes, 2 to DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins getting more involved. Look at what he did. Caught that deep pass. Had a couple of touchdowns. You're going to be getting Isaiah Pacheco back in the coming weeks. Travis Kelce's playing better. Defense did not have a great game, but they should bounce back. This is another team finds ways to win games, and it wasn't pretty. The Bucs could have won this game, but the Chiefs, they were able to pull out the win, and they're undefeated. And season were to end today, they would have home field advantage. So, and you really wonder, when is this team going to lose? They will lose a game at some point. I am going to stand firm on that. They will lose a game. But who knows who it'll be. The Bills, I think, have the best chance to do it. Maybe the Broncos pull off an upset with their defense, but right now they're still undefeated, and I still got them as the best team. So to kind of go through it again, so 5, I got the Bills, 4, the Vikings, 3, the Ravens, 2, the Lions, and then 1, I have the Chiefs. Let me know what you guys think about these rankings. What would your top 5 be? Let me know in the comments. So, yeah, that is pretty much it for the show for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to check out all the other shows. Give the other shows some love, like I always say. We greatly appreciate it. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the video as well. I will make sure to have the breakdown of the show up later today. And, make sure to go listen to the other shows as well. Wherever you get your podcast, whether it's Apple Music, Spotify, go check out the GSMC Football Podcast and all the other podcasts on the network, wherever you listen. In case you don't want to look at us, you can still hear us. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the show. We'll be back again tomorrow. So as always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great.